All right, as we've come to see the past 2 years amid the COVID pandemic, the Food and Drug Administration wields an incredible amount of power over big and small aspects of our lives, on everything from approving the 3 COVID vaccines available to evaluating effectiveness of pills made to treat COVID patients. What you might not know is that the FDA also oversees other aspects of the medical field, like abortion-inducing pills and how people can get them. Because of COVID, the use of abortion pills and how they are being administered has become a significant health issue. For that and other reasons, President Biden's nominee for the FDA, Robert Califf, has many alarmed. And one of the senators raising that alarm is Senator Mike Braun of Indiana. He's been sounding the alarm, and he joins me now by phone just off the Senate floor. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Hey, good to be back on, Tony.
Well, Senator, let me first say thank you for bringing attention to this nominee who is really outside the mainstream, but he has a track record coming from the Obama administration when it comes to pushing these abortion pills. Tell our listeners your concern about the president's nominee for FDA.
Well, the big reason is that when he was there, he didn't show any interest in protecting the sanctity of life and keeping that as a consideration in terms of what he decided to do under his leadership. In 2016, they expanded access to the chemical abortion drug that now looks like it could be the main modus operandi of affecting an abortion. And he's beguiling in a way because he talks about data, doing the, kind of taking the scientific approach to where, like on diseases like ALS and others that I've been a proponent on advancing, speeding up the FDA's kind of stodgy framework where there aren't good existing therapies, let alone cures. But when it comes to those of us that are put the sanctity of life as a priority out here, he'd be the one that orchestrated the chemical abortion, and that happened during the Obama administration. And sadly, he made it through committee today. He's going to get, he's going to probably get the floor vote that puts him in as our next FDA commissioner. Just need to have a big heads up of what he did back then when it comes to that particular issue.
Yeah, and to be very clear on this, as you talk about, there's procedures in place to make sure that the health aspects of these medical instruments, in this case, these abortion pills, these are very risky. And they kind of short-circuited this in pushing these things out. And that's the concern here is obviously for us, life issue, but it's the life of the mother, too, that's put at risk when we don't thoroughly vet these so-called medicines.
Yeah, and sadly, when you err on the side of expediency for making it as easy as you can to complete an abortion, you get those kinds of dynamics. And I think that in the time I've been here, which is now about 3 years, sadly, a lot of this stuff just gets through the system. It's so important that we regain one of the 2 chambers in 2022, and ideally the Senate. So when it comes to appointments, we at least can put a stop to something like this. Sadly, it won't be until 2024 or the Congress that begins in 2025 to where we can fix it. In the meantime, you have to live with it. And the best thing any of us can do here is just point out, especially when you've got nominees that do have pros and cons to them, and Dr. Califf would be one of them, how egregious it is when it comes to particular issues when the sanctity of life is important.
Anything that our viewers and listeners can do as this progresses to the Senate floor?
I don't think so. I have not when I was here, and I'll give this as a great example why it's so important that you kind of keep those reins of power to prevent nominees like this. I'll never forget one more than a month and a half into serving, and Ben Sass is bringing a bill to the Senate floor, what's called unanimous consent, meaning that sometimes something so clear-cut, so innocuous, it goes through, and unless somebody comes to the floor to object, and of course would have been the Born Alive bill, where in a botched abortion, if a baby survives, it was to say that you got to do everything to keep the baby alive. Patty Murray from Washington actually came to object. That's how big a deal pro-choice abortion rights are to the other side of the aisle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And elections have consequences.
Sure
Senator Braun, so good to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.